Well, um, we have a treat for you all today. We have one of the most popular guests that we've ever had on our webinar series back for round two. I think the first webinar that Frank delivered for us was one of the most popular events that we've had over the past year. So we're excited about round two. Many of you know, Frank, who is a data scientist at Michigan Institute for Data and AI uh, in Society, MiDAS, here at University of Michigan. His work is focused on developing and applying machine learning and AI methods to complex high-dimensional data, and he's been very involved with all the educational efforts at MiDAS, and we're excited to have him expand on his previous talk. Welcome, Frank.
Thank you so much for your kind introduction, Hamid, and welcome everyone, and thank you for joining today's session. And actually, this was like the second part of the talk, following the ones that's in January. And then for those who are newly joined, that I'm Frank and I'm from MiDAS. And at MiDAS, that we're basically trying to help researchers on campus to apply AI in their research, their domain, like responsibly. And I think today I'm trying to talk about the responsible AI for clinical research, and I want to focus on basically where the AI can be applied in research and what can be the risks and maybe some of the practical workflow and examples. And that will be specifically applied to like all of us at U of M. So meaning at the end, I'm going to talk about some of the useful resources. So let's get started. So before like we get into the real content, and I want to share like two additional slides. So the first slide covers about the research life cycle idea. And at MIDAS, we're like always thinking about how to basically help researchers to apply AI in their research. And the most of the questions that we heard is not really how to apply a specific model to the data or like how to use a specific tool, but rather than like where do I start? So to sort of solve this problem, and we used this research life cycle idea, and we want to sort of develop a AI in research handbook to sort of introduce like where AI can be applied in every step of the research. So last time that we covered like the part two, actually it was like reversed order because like at the time that I was still in the development of the handbook, and then I thought maybe part two was like quite useful as the beginning, but also I want to say that part one is very equally important, and part one actually covers like the problem framing and literature review and writing some grant preparation and also the ethics and compliance related with that. So basically, you can scan the QR code to the handbook, and then you can also visit the link. And I want to say that the key message here is that AI is your research collaborator, not a replacement, because like human as always is the most important ones that makes decisions, and which we will look in like a bit more detail in later today's talk. And then also I want to say that this handbook is not something for like a deep technical tutorial about AI method, but rather than like a map of your AI journey. So you can I mean, hopefully, to get a landscape of the current AI in research, and then like where you can sort of start to apply AI in like different aspect of your research. So, and sorry, and the second thing I want to say is some of the tips that before we begin today's content. So, basically, we will use several kind of AI chatbots as examples throughout the talk. And then the AI chatbots include Google Gemini, ChatGPT, and Cloud, and many more. And I want to mention that basically UM has subscribed to Google Gemini, which means your data won't be used to train the model because of the subscription and the agreement. And then also offers some AI tools called GPT, which it's different compared with the ChatGPT. As you can see on the right side, which is a interface that allows you to select multiple models in one place. So basically, you can select which model you want to talk to and then send your prompt through a universal interface provided by GPT, which I found sometimes is very helpful. And then also like the all the platforms offers model at different capability tiers. Like you have lightweight, which is the Gemini Flash, for example, and you have some mid-range, which, for example, the Cloud Sonnet, and the Frontier or the Pro level model, which, for example, the GPT Pro or the Cloud Opus. So, and I want to mention the last thing is that each model has a different strengths. For example, like Cloud is good at coding and long document analysis or instruction following, while ChatGPT is basically a broad ecosystem and it's basically multifunctional. You can use it for data analysis with code interpreter, for example. And Gemini is like a multi-model and it's good at, combining the text with your figures and, and especially I want to mention here is that it has integration for Google's Workspace. So if you are using Google Docs or Slide or Google Sheets, and then you may find Gemini is especially helpful in that context. So with that, and I want to sort of start with like why responsible AI matters in clinical research. So basically, when people hear about responsible AI, and they often think about, policies, like regulations and which things are not allowed to do. But I want to say responsible AI here is more of a how that to use AI in the research life cycle, and then it's about what kind of guardrails we should put um, like on it in order to make things in control. So basically, AI is already in the research. So like many or like more and more researchers are start using AI at different aspect. So I hope like today we're thinking of the question not like should I use AI, should we use AI, but like really like where and how and what conditions that we're going to use AI. So this brings like the questions to like responsibility of use of AI. And I want to say here, like the responsibility is more about a process. It's about like how design your data to be put into the AI, how you use AI to assist your analysis, and how you use AI to assist your writing, etc. It's not about like specific tools that you selected for like AI use. And also like I want to say that maybe the responsible AI is now like in everyday research practice. So it's not about something that will happen. Like, I mean, responsible use of AI is not about something that will happen when we are making like high stake clinical decisions or clinical deployment, but it's rather than every day research topics that maybe we'll use AI for a very small task. And maybe sometimes even nowadays when we are doing Google search and the first item that come out as a result is actually the answer from the AI. So like a lot of the people may not even, realize that they're seeing the result output from AI that when they are using the Google search. So finally, it's about some practical implications for researchers. This include like what practically should we do and what workflow looks like, and also some of the useful resources that's available around us. So next slide. So, and before like the content, I want to let you know clearly that what I'm gonna to cover today. And I think first I want to help you get a clear mental model about like how AI fits into clinical research. And then I'm going to briefly talk about the practical workflow and like how we basically use the AI at different steps. And then I'll give you like some concrete examples that maybe you can adapt to your own research, and then followed by some of the risks and then the guardrails, important takeaways. And finally, it was about some resources that are available. So I think the most important thing is like before we talk about the responsible AI use or like applying AI in research is maybe we want to roughly understand how modern large language model works. And I mean, the reason that I'm showing this slide is not going to give you a computer science lecture, but rather to show like why AI can sound very confident, but the results are still wrong. Because as you can see in this slide, AI is basically a next word generator. And the generation is based on the probability and which uh, the AI was trained on. So as you can see here that from the beginning, that if we have a sentence, say like Paris is the city, and then we'll have something called tokenizer, and which parses the sentence into tokens. And here, for simplicity, I'm just making tokens as an individual word. And there are some other kind of tokens. And for example, if we're trying to work with EHR data, and those tokens could be, the components that are in different encounters. But here, if we make things simple, that we're just looking at general text, and then like each of the embedded, meaning that the computer converted words are then going into like a trained large language model, and through some computations, and it's going to give a probability with the token list that are represented as a table. So, and then we're using the tokenizer here to sort of convert those tokens back into the word that we can recognize. And for this specific instance, and we can see like the most possible word that follows the sentence, Paris is the city, is basically off, and it has the highest probability. And it also can be like Paris is the city that, or Paris is the city where. But in this case, maybe the off will be the next word. And then so what I want to say here is basically the next word generated by the large language model is really based on the probability, and it could go wrong. And it's not like some sort of, knowledge learning, the same as the uh, humankind, and it's actually basically predicting, and then based on what it was learning from. And if this context is Wikipedia, and it can do some general guesses, and if it is like clinical content, and it can do in the educational guesses in that way. But I mean, ultimately, the answer is not guaranteed to be the correct one, but rather than the highest uh, probable probable ones. So, and that explains the like why the large language model has a problem called hallucination. And I guess many of you have already heard about it. It's basically it's mimicking some wrong answers, and it sounds very confident, and many people are like unfortunately trying to trust the output from the language model. So, and this brings the problem, of course, to, the responsible use of the AI. So, and let's now look at the research life cycle a little bit closer to see like what's really inside. So basically, the research life cycle covers like from problem framing to data analysis to output and knowledge sharing. And I want to say like the problem framing, data access and discovering, and knowledge sharing output of and the reproducibility are equally important as the data analysis. And then AI must be fully understood within this full life cycle. And then the question is like where AI can be applied to the stages in this research life cycle. And the answer is basically AI can be applied to any stage within this research life cycle. So nowadays we're already like probably using AI in different stages. And then we like based on our working habit, and maybe we'll select like different entry point. Like maybe some of us use it for literature review, some of us use it to assist the writing, and some of us use it for data analysis, or to generate the code, etc. And then like some of the uses are can be occurred like outside of the formal protocol or documentation, and that could be a problem. And then like even when AI is not making a really decision, and meaning the last decision that during a workflow, but it can like trying to affect like many of the stages before the decision making stage, and like potentially affect the decision making stage, which is like sometimes under realized. And then it's like really the key is to think about a workflow for every different stage, and to sort of have a guardrail and control on the AI use. So, and then here is basically the workflow that I want to introduce here. And then it's a very simple 5-step workflow from basically the framing and to the tools selection, execution, verification, and documentations. So as I said in the previous slide, is like important to realize that AI can influence decisions basically at the last stage, but it's it can actually also, the AI is very important in like can be used in like different stages, different steps in this workflow. And then like we want to sort of have a shared workflow that basically make AI use that's visible and accountable and reproducible. So this is a workflow that applies to like many of the tasks in the previous research life cycle, and it's not specific to like a certain tool that we selected, and it's basically a general framework. And then for the next slide, we'll look at like what are the actual content for like different of the steps. So basically, it for the framing stage, and it's like deciding what research questions and what kind of roles should the AI play. And then for the tool selection is that we'll make the decision like what tool we want to select to sort of solve the problem, and what are actually the tasks and what are the data sensitivity related to the tasks, and also like are there any constraint. And then about the execution stage is like how AI can be used like in practice, and for example like prompting, coding, and iteration. And then it's like who are going to use that AI tool. And the final, and then for the verification is like how the AI outputs will be checked, validated, and also reviewed by the domain experts and also the researchers themselves. And finally, it's about the documentation. Is that we need to clearly, document it how the AI is used for sort of transparency, reproducibility, and then for the future review. And you at this point, you may find that workflow may sound familiar to clinicians. And the reason is that that workflow is not really a new thing, because like clinical research already, relies on structured, like similar structured workflow to manage risk. So clinicians routinely will separate planning, execution, review, and documentation. So basically, that workflow is something similar to that, but um, first, the human judgment is very important in that workflow, and also the that workflow is something that we want to apply to the AI usage. And the workflow is probably some sort of existed, while the application to the AI use is the new thing. So basically, we're using the similar workflow towards a new tool, and it's a powerful tool called AI. So, and next I'm gonna I'll share a few examples based on the workflow that I just proposed. And so the first example is basically using AI for literature review and problem framing. It's a basically AI can be used to summarize the existing literature and trying to suggesting some gaps, like when you are defining your research question. And then at the framing stage, and maybe AI can help you to collect the literature and trying to summarize the themes. But it's important for you to, as a domain expert, to see like what are the real gaps. And AI may be suggesting some of the existing gaps based on the pattern of the literature that it found. But I think for many times cases that my own experience, that AI's answer is not that uh, good. So it's really that for you as a domain expert to sort of decide like which question is the real question. And then for the tool selection, and you can select, for example, a general purpose large language model or your domain specific large language model. And and that large language model based on selection will probably give you some different answers. And then for the execution is basically you want to do an iterative prompting. So every time you get some feedback from AI and you want to chat with the AI to do some refine on the questions, and then you receive another answer, and then you can also compare the answers with the manual search to verify whether, for example, the literature provided by the AI is accurate or not. And then this is automatically the verification stage is like you want to basically check not only like the answer AI generated, but also like the supporting knowledge or the literature that AI found for you. Sometimes the hallucination happens a lot here that AI is basically like assemble and generating the like not existed components for like generating some literature that looks very true. And when you like really search on PubMed and you cannot find it at all. And then finally, it's the documentation. It's like you want to describe basically how you use the AI to sort of form up the literature survey, and then how to basically design your research question. So this is the first example, and the second example is about like writing and analysis. And then this this example basically are trying to show like when the researchers use AI to draft some of the text or like generate some analysis code or explore the results during the data analysis. And the AI is very powerful here, I would say, and it can like dramatically accelerate and support the analysis, but like sometimes it will have problems with the reasoning process itself. So like again, if we fit the items into this workflow, and for the framing part, and maybe you want to clarify and think carefully about which part of the writing or the analysis that you want the AI to be assisting you, and which part of this and requires like real human judgment. It's like a high stake decisions and clinical judgment, etc. And second is like you want to select proper tools, and there are like a lot of tools, and including you can directly, like we covered last time, you can directly ask the large language model based chatbot to sort of help you with writing and data analysis, or you can have like specific tools that you select and let the AI to help you use it. And that include, for example, cloud code. And you can basically define a question and say, I want to have a code package that help me solve this problem or analyze this data. And you and the AI agent will basically help you generate the code, and you will need to run the code to get the result. And the execution, I think it's more about the process that I just described. And then verification is extremely important here because when we are like, for example, in the writing scenario, we want to verify that basically we want to, sort of check what AI is generated, and we want to probably rephrase it using our own language, and by also, deciding whether the content that AI generated is proper or not. And the key idea here is basically we want the writing to reflect our own idea, not what the AI wants to like generate. And for the data analysis, maybe I mean, we want to sort of verify the output is what we expected. And there is a special cases here that for statistical analysis that I want to point out is that AI maybe um, it will generate some significant statistical test result while using the wrong type of statistical test. And so when you generated the code and you will find, oh, I can run this code without a problem and I get the significant result. But then if you don't check carefully and the AI may be using like a wrong statistical test and which can lead to the entire hypothesis testing invalid. So, and then finally for the documentation is something that we want to specifically, document like how we're using AI in the writing and in the, data analysis. And I guess this related to probably more of the manuscript submitting, like for example, and like nowadays, I think most of the journals are sort of accepting AI use, but they require basically you disclose like what AI tools you use and how did you use them. And for some of the journals, that's they're stricter. And for example, the JAMA family will sort of asking you not to use AI on the scientific content, but just to use AI for like rephrasing for the language purpose. And for some other journals, and it may ask you specifically um, to sort of document AI use in like what tool did you use and how did you use it and what version of the AI tools you use. And then they will state clearly that you have to write this in the method section instead of using like instead of in the, normal acknowledgement section. So, and I think the key idea here is since like AI is like starting developing in the research world, and I think it's important now to like check the specific journal requirement for AI usage on their own website. So that's about the writing and the analysis. And the third one is about the review and also the result in interpretation and dissemination. So like AI can be used here, for example, to summarize findings, or like it can help you draft a review response or prepare presentations. And then, of course, AI can influence the result, like associated with those steps, and to fit the specific content in the workflow. And it's like in the framing stage, and it's trying to define the appropriate scope for AI usage in like these activities. And I want to especially mention the if you're using AI for like a sort of the manuscript review process. And I think that's our sort of generally disencouraged, like for most of the journals. And some of the journals, I think, prohibited and use for prohibited like AI use in review. And also this does apply to some grant review process. And I think the idea here is basically we want to like first read the manuscript or the proposal like by our own and start to forming ideas on our own, and then maybe we write our ideas, and then if we want to use AI to assist, and then we can sort of let AI to help us with the language editing. But a situation that we want to avoid is that we throw directly, the content, the manuscript, or um, the proposal into an AI tool, and then let the AI generate, you know, the reviewer comments that he thinks it's important, and then we do the editing there. And here poses like a several problem. It's like first, the manuscript and the proposal, as we know, are confidential, and we're not supposed to, throw them onto the commercial AI tools because it has the risk to sort of expose these things to the outside world. And then some researchers may say that I have a local environment, that I have an open source large language model that can help me with that. And I think the second layer here is that um, if we ask the AI to sort of read the content first, and then like we check the output, and based on the output, we generate our own ideas. And there is a risk that AI is like really influencing our ideas on those content, including the manuscript and the proposal. And I think that's very risky, and sort of serious problem that it's like the ultimate output, if we misuse AI here, is basically not reflecting like our ideas as the reviewer, but it's the like a sort of mixing of the AI's idea and our humans' idea. And that's, I think, generally is against the rules and the purpose of like a peer reviewing for both manuscript and content. So this I think basically this is a problem, especially that is hot and nowadays, and I want to mention here. And then, like, if we continue with the tool selection, is like basically using um, like what AI tools, and also like which task is proper to use AI to assist here. And then for the execution is like AI is like basically can help you with drafting summaries and organize your responses, or like language editing, or it can help you prepare presentations if you want to try. And nowadays, I think AI is very good at, maybe not very good at, but it's capable of, generating the presentations. And then the verification is that you want to basically verify what AI does is like really reflecting, you know, um, your own idea. And finally, you want to document, maybe not like for some of the tasks, maybe not in a way of that other people can read, but I still suggest you to document all the AI uses for your own purpose. So that's the this part. And then so after looking at these examples, I want to say that maybe like some common failures about like the AI using research is that it can be like some people that will treat AI output as a authority, and then like trust it without doubt. And then it could be like basically some researchers use AI to, replace the thinking process. And it could be like some, researchers don't check AI output, and just, blindly use it for like whatever purpose. And it could be, like we confuse um, productivity gains with scientific rigors, because nowadays AI is really powerful, and it can help us do many tasks at the same time at a certain level of quality, and then which like if like some of the researchers think, oh, I'm like now much more capable than before, and I can do like many tasks at within a short period, but like the sacrifice of this kind of idea is that the a lot of the activities that was done by AI basically, and will lose the scientific rigor. And then it may lead to, some hallucinated um, literature in a manuscript. It may lead to a, wrong type of statistical test and with significant result, etc. And then finally, it's like we sort of failed to document the AI involvement. Like I said, maybe it's not that proper to say um, it here, but I want to still mention that many people nowadays using Google search and didn't realize that the first result come out was actually a AI generated output, and somehow that if we check that output and then we learn something from there, and that's like a kind of AI involvement, and then maybe we're like, actually using AI for help, but without realize it. And then of course we will not, document that AI usage. So that's some of the cases. And I want to like emphasize probably the key here is like first to verify the AI output and trying to make judgment on your own and not like basically rely on AI to think on behalf of you. And the second is for the documentation. So we may generally, maybe we want to document the AI usage as clear and as detailed as possible so that we can, so it will be sort of good for the third tile, which is reproducibility. Because if we describe, it's like a method section in a manuscript. If we describe the AI use in a clear way and in a detailed way, and maybe it will be like good for other researchers or the reviewers to understand and to review the work. And also, we can sort of, help other people if they want to replicate our results in the manuscript or in like some of the AI assisted research stages, and they can follow the instruction to do that. But I want to mention one thing here is that the reproducibility for the AI usage is probably a little bit different because you may notice that if you put a prompt the same prompt into AI chatbots 10 times, and you probably will get like 10 different answers. So I think the reproducibility here is more like associated with the process itself, not you are trying to get the identical output for every time that you put a prompt into the AI tool. So then like I want to say that if you later want to check the handbook that mentioned in the very beginning, that the part one of the handbook is actually covering these topics in more details. And as you can see that I have a screenshot here that it's basically trying to talk about every aspect that I was trying to cover today, but because of the time that maybe in the handbook you will find like a more systematical description about like AI use in different stages. And also I want to emphasize like chapter 10 and chapter 11 is about ethics, privacy, compliance, and also, checking the the output of the AI, which is the verification step. And then I want to also briefly mention that the part two of this handbook is like traditional machine learning and the data science part. And the part three is about large language model, is about the retrieval augmented generation, is about agentic AI. So it's not about only about the concept, but also it comes with a companion code notebook that you can basically make a toy model, um, like for you to better understand the concept described in the chapter, and also you can sort of adapt it into your own work if you find that code is useful. And so finally, I think for part four that have stacked a lot of the resources, including the resources and the external resources that you can use. And this handbook is like a live document. So basically, at MiDAS, like our research team will sort of update it, like maybe monthly or biweekly, to sort of depth into the evolving AI. And in addition to that, I want to mention something that's also very important is that this responsible use of AI is probably not only for individual, but we want to keep in mind that maybe we want to scale it up to lab level practice, and then maybe departmental level, and then maybe the university level, and and more, because like nowadays AI is probably just the start, and most of the AI application or integration into the research is like on the individual and informal experimentation uh, kind of format. But I want to say that the research qualities most of the time depending on like shared expectation and consistent practice, like on the research team. And so the lab level norms will sort of help to ensure, these verification documentations and the research continuity. And so we want to sort of, you know, when we are focusing on the individual level experimentation, uh, which on the right side, we want to also, like pay attention to the other three circles. And we want to make it maybe as equal size as the individual experimentation, so that we can basically scale the responsible AI research, like to a level that will benefit for like all of us. So and finally, like I want to mention some of the resources that we basically at University of Michigan, like MiDAS, in collaborating with other units that we're trying to provide, helpful resources for AI usage. And then, for example, we were collaborating with IT, and we were, collaborating with the technical cohort in many of the units. And then, so for MiDAS itself, and we are offering like these much resources, like including the consultation that you can come to us to talk about the project, and we will work with you on the specific problems. And we have a sandbox which we invite you to come to our space to check out the models with the latest models with our research and data scientists. We have like multiple training and workshops, and we are developing the reusable guidance and, for example, the handbook. And also we have a news and digest list subscription that if you want to stay tuned of MiDAS activities and of the AI development, and you can subscribe to that, and we will also help you like connecting to the other institutional resources if needed. And we are trying to build a map for all the available AI resources on campus, and then we are also building collaborations with the other unit on the campus, like all the, AI, machine learning, and data science related, because we realize that there are actually many, many of these AI units that are hiding in different places on campus. So we're sort of trying to build connections with them. And here are like the links to all of the resources, and I will share this slide with Ashley, and she will be helping me to like share this with you, and you can basically click the links to access the resources. And so finally, the three takeaway that I want to mention here is that human is always the most important, and we're the ones who make decisions, because we have our domain expertise. And also like as I said in the very beginning, that AI is a collaborator, is a helper, but it's not trying to replace us. And then it's about the workflow, and then it's like we want to use like responsibly use AI, like following that workflow, and which is like very similar and existing, and we basically use the similar kind of workflow to solve the research problems already in the clinical area. And finally, is like the supporting resources. So if you feel that you have some questions, and please don't hesitate to reach out, and we're really happy to talk with you to figure out the problem, and like trying to help as much as we can. And all the resources that I mentioned above, I want to mention like it's free of charge to the researchers. And then finally, it's like I want to thank you for your attention, and please let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you so much. That was great. So helpful. Um, I don't see any questions in the Q&A right now, but maybe Dr. Ganbari just unmuted and he might have a comment or two.
No, that was fantastic, Frank. Terrific. I have a question specifically about the Claude Code research tool that just became available at Michigan Medicine and across the campus. Could you talk a little bit about the Claude Code tool, and then the token usage and how that actually works, and whether there are skills or agents or scripts available for Cloud Code that the researchers could potentially use. If you could particularly point them to like a GitHub repository specifically for research tool, that would be great.
Sure. That's a very good question. And I want to say that if you haven't tried Cloud Code, please try it. And if you are doing like, data analysis related work, and the Cloud Code is like really a powerful tool. And so basically, Cloud Code is a tool that helps you generate code in a project level. And it's not like the previous large language model based code generation, and it's generating maybe a block of code, maybe a file that you can run. But for Cloud Code, and you can basically ask it to generate a project, and say like, I want to analysis like data X, and can you sort of check out the data and then generate a code, and I want to do like sort of like machine learning A and a statistical test B, for example. So it will like work with you in an iterative way of like, you know, um, during the generation, like it will ask you questions like, do you want this and do you want that? And for the first want, and then afterward, and you can sort of check your input and output and to see if the output is like as you expected. And then you can directly tell the cloud code that the output is not what I expected and I wanted it to be look like what, and then it will sort of modify the code according to your description. And that kind of process nowadays is called a vibe coding, if you have ever heard about it. And I think it's a great tool. And but I want to point out that you should sort of use it with awareness that if you want to develop a prototype or develop like a demo code, and of course you can just use it that way, and then you don't really care about what it wrote in your coding file. And then I think that is very friendly to people who are not having like many coding experience. But like I want to say that if you are trying to build a code package or some tools that will be repeatedly used by your lab or by your department, and also if you want it to be able to collaboratively developed by other folks around you. And maybe you want to pay a little bit more attention to what code it basically writes into the key part of the functionality of your tool, so that you have an idea that what it actually wrote. And it will be very helpful when you are like planning for long-term development and for the future continuity of that development. So I hope that helps. And for the token use wise, so let's say I don't have a systematic way to describe that, but I just want to say that, for example, if you open Cloud and if you ask Cloud to generate a code for a t-test, for example, and it will generate for you and it will work. And then in Cloud Code, and if you say that I have a data here and I want you to, based on this data, generate a t-test code to test the data and give me the result. And it will probably have a usage of the token that are 5 to 20 times more than if you are doing just in a like round-based chatting way. So you want to probably like that's my personal experience, that if you want to, maybe you want to use Cloud Code in a way that you chat with the chatbots and to think and define clearly like what you want to achieve, and then you start using Cloud Code to let it generate the real like architecting the code and then trying to generate the different components, and then you start to modify like afterwards. And that's maybe a better and maybe a more efficient way of using that if you are considering about the token total number of token that you are consuming.
Thank you. I think we're coming up on our time, so I want to be mindful of everyone else's time. But thank you so much. We will send out these slides and the recording after the call, and we really appreciate this wonderful presentation and all the time that you've spent with us. And I know that the CVC community is going to benefit a lot from all of your education and hard work. And we're so thankful to have you as a resource. So, um, we look forward to working with you more.
Thank you, Ashley, and thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Frank.
Yeah, Hamid.
Bye, everyone.